She didn't recognize me at first, but I knew every inch of her face from the photos he begged me to delete. The first time I saw her in person, she was smiling, that kind of free, unbothered smile that only someone sure of their power wears. She walked into the interview room wearing confidence like perfume, subtle, expensive, and meant to seduce. I felt my stomach twist, but I kept my face still. I wasn't there as the betrayed wife. I was her future boss. She shook my hand, said her name like it meant nothing, like it wasn't the name that haunted me for 6 months straight, echoing. In every argument, every silent dinner, every lie he told while pretending to choose me, I hired her because I needed to see her up close. Not for revenge, not at first. I just needed to understand what kind of woman destroys a marriage and walks away like it was nothing. I needed to see if she was as perfect as he swore she wasn't. Spoiler, she was worse. Every day she sat in front of me, laughing, talking, bringing coffee like she was just another intern trying to make it. And every day I watched, waited, listened. She didn't know who I was, but I knew her voice from his voicemails, her scent from the jacket he once brought home, her handwriting from the note she left in his car, the one he claimed was just from a friend. The hardest part was pretending to care about her ideas, sitting through meetings while she pitched projects with that same smug smile. I wondered if she ever imagined I'd be sitting right across from her, knowing everything, and still playing along. There were moments I thought she'd figured it out, like when I slipped and called her by the nickname he once used. Her eyes flicked toward me, sharp for a second, then softened. Maybe she thought I was just another woman he'd lied to. Maybe she thought I was still clueless, but I wasn't. I knew when they started. I knew where they met. I even knew the hotel room. He confessed everything, not out of guilt, but because he was trying to blame me. Said I was cold, that I worked too much, that she made him feel seen. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just remembered, and then I waited, because revenge isn't about rage. It's about patience, precision. Watching the person who broke you step into the trap, thinking it's a gift. She thought this job was her new beginning. She had no idea it was my closure. I was the kind of woman who planned everything. Birthdays, vacations, even grocery lists, down to the brand of oat milk he liked. My life ran on structure. My marriage, it looked perfect from the outside. People said we were the power couple, and I believed them, because I worked hard to make it true. We met in college. He was charming, spontaneous, everything I wasn't. I thought we balanced each other out. I brought stability. He brought excitement. Or at least, that's how I romanticized the chaos. He made me feel alive, needed, like I was the only one who ever really understood him. Our wedding was small, but elegant. I designed every detail, right down to the napkin rings. He cried during his vows. I still remember how tight he held my hand when he said, "I'll never hurt you." I held on to those words for years, even when they stopped meaning anything. We moved into a loft downtown, exposed brick, big windows, our dream place. I was building a career in creative marketing. He dabbled in freelance photography, sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. I paid most of the bills, but I never threw it in his face. I believed in partnership. I believed in him. My friends admired our relationship. My mom said I was lucky. I guess that's why I ignored the signs, the sudden late nights, the locked phone, the way he started showering before coming home, like he was washing something off. He gaslit me so well I started questioning my own instincts. Every time I asked where he'd been, he flipped it. "Why don't you trust me? You're being paranoid. You always need to control everything." I started apologizing just for feeling confused, for crying, for wanting answers. Stopped talking to my sister about him. She once called him slippery, and I defended him like a fool. I thought I was protecting our marriage. Turns out, I was protecting his lies. The worst part? I was still trying to make things work, still planning date nights, still folding his clothes just the way he liked. I thought if I was just better, he'd come back to me, but I never lost him. He was never fully mine to begin with. When I finally found out about her, it wasn't through a dramatic reveal. It was quiet, cold. I found a folder on his laptop, labeled with the name of a client. Inside were dozens of photos of her, smiling, naked, text threads saved as PDFs, and a video, one I still can't erase from my mind. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just stood there, staring at the screen, my body numb. My reality cracked open, and I smiled, because suddenly, everything made sense. The coldness, the blame, the guilt he tried to bury me under. That night, he came home like nothing happened, kissed me on the forehead, told me I was beautiful, and I said nothing. After that night, I moved differently. I didn't confront him, not yet. I needed to watch him, needed to understand how deep the betrayal really ran. So I studied him, like he was a stranger who slept in my bed. He kept lying, casually, effortlessly. He'd say he was working late, then come home with a wrinkled shirt and that faint trace of vanilla perfume. Not mine. I'd nod, pretend to believe him. I became an actress in my own life. My performance deserved an award. At dinners, he scrolled through his phone, smiling at the screen. When I asked what was so funny, he'd lock it and say, "Just a meme." He stopped looking me in the eye, stopped asking how my day was. It was like I was furniture, useful, silent, always there. He called me dramatic when I asked for intimacy. "You're always in your head," he said. "I can't be what you need right now." The irony of that sentence almost made me laugh. He was everything she needed, apparently. I started noticing little things. A red lipstick mark on his camera strap. A second phone charger he tried to hide in the guest room. A receipt for 2 drinks on a Tuesday night, the night he said he had food poisoning. My heart didn't even break anymore. It hardened. The worst was his birthday. I planned a dinner with his closest friends. He showed up late, reeking of cologne I didn't buy. Everyone laughed, toasted him. He didn't even sit next to me. When I touched his arm, he flinched. That's when I knew. He wasn't even trying to pretend anymore. I thought maybe our friends would notice, that someone would pull me aside, ask if I was okay, but no one did. They saw what they wanted to see. The smiling couple, the perfect wife, the charming husband. I realized then how alone I really was. He gaslighted me in new ways, said I was distant, accused me of being emotionally unavailable. That one stung. I was breaking myself in half to keep the relationship alive, and he blamed me for the corpse he left behind. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, receipts, screenshots. Not because I wanted revenge. Not yet. I just needed to reclaim reality. To prove, at least to myself, that I wasn't crazy. And then, one afternoon, I saw her at a networking event. She was standing by the bar, laughing with someone I knew from work. That's when I realized who she really was. Not just the other woman, but someone trying to build a career in my world. The world I built with blood and sleepless nights. She didn't recognize me. She had no idea she was laughing 10 feet away from the woman whose marriage she'd helped destroy. That's when something shifted inside me. Not rage, not sadness, strategy. The job posting wasn't real at first. I created it just to see if she'd bite. A junior creative assistant role at a boutique firm, flexible hours, promising future, everything a woman like her would want. And she applied. I watched her resume come through our internal system like fate delivering a gift. My heart pounded when I read her cover letter. She wrote about being passionate, collaborative, detail-oriented. I almost laughed. She was so convincing. In paper, in person, in bed with someone else's husband. I scheduled the interview. She walked into my office wearing a beige blazer and a smile that made my stomach burn. I said her name out loud, slow and calm, just to feel the weight of it in my mouth. She didn't flinch. No recognition, no guilt. She was either incredibly naive or an even better actress than I was. I asked questions I already knew the answers to. Where had she worked before? What projects had she done? Was she in a relationship? That one made her laugh. "It's complicated," she said with a smirk. I swallowed the bile in my throat and nodded like I understood. I hired her the next day. She started the following Monday. Our team welcomed her like any new hire, warm, curious, unaware. She sat across from me during meetings, took notes diligently, even complimented my shoes. I smiled and told her she was doing great. She believed me, but the cracks showed quickly. She flirted with a married vendor during a product shoot. She took long lunches. She once bragged to another assistant about how easy it is to get what you want when you know what men like. I stared at my screen, pretending I didn't hear, while my fists clenched under the desk. Then came the day she asked to leave early. Said she had a personal appointment. I knew where she went. I followed her, watched from my car as she walked into the same hotel I once cried outside of, the place he took her when he said he was with his mother in the hospital. She still didn't recognize me. The final blow came 3 weeks later. She accidentally left her phone unlocked on her desk. A message popped up. "I miss your mouth." It was his name, still saved under J. That night I went home and packed his things. Every sock, every cologne bottle, every photo of us smiling like liars. I didn't burn them. I mailed them to her, but I wasn't done. The next morning I called her into my office. She looked nervous but still didn't know why. I handed her an envelope. Inside were printed screenshots of the messages, a copy of our wedding certificate, and a note. "You were never a secret. You were a symptom." She went pale. Her hands trembled. "What is this?" I leaned back in my chair. "Your resignation." For once, she didn't have a clever reply, just silence. Heavy, exposed, shameful silence. She left that day, and I never saw her again. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my family, not even my therapist. The day after she walked out of my office, I arrived early, made myself coffee, and started a new project like nothing had happened. The world didn't need to know. I'd chosen peace over spectacle. He tried calling 16 times in one night. I didn't block him. I wanted him to feel the weight of my silence. Let the unanswered calls echo back at him louder than any insult I could scream. Let him wonder which moment I stopped loving him. Let him drown in uncertainty. The next morning, I left the keys to our loft in a small envelope on his windshield. No note, no explanation, just finality. I moved out while he was at work, hired a crew, paid extra for speed, and packed only what belonged to me. I left his world untouched, like I'd never existed, like I was never the woman who cooked his meals, folded his laundry, believed his promises. There was no confrontation, no yelling. I didn't want his tears. I didn't want his apologies. I'd already seen the worst parts of him, and worse, I'd seen the parts of myself that stayed too long, gave too much, forgave too easily. I moved into a small apartment across town. No exposed brick, no matching furniture, just space, air, quiet. I slept on a mattress on the floor for the first 2 weeks, wrapped in blankets and detachment, and for the first time in months, I breathed without choking. People started noticing I was gone. A mutual friend texted me, "He looks lost." I didn't reply. That wasn't my problem anymore. His chaos no longer belonged to me. He emailed me once, just a subject line. Why? I stared at it for a long time. Then I archived it. No response. He didn't deserve closure. He'd buried it in every lie he ever told. In the office, I stayed composed. When coworkers asked about the assistant who left, I just shrugged and said she found something more aligned. I said it with a straight face, even as satisfaction flickered behind my eyes. I didn't post cryptic quotes. I didn't unfriend anyone. I just vanished, like smoke after a fire. Let them piece it together slowly. Let them wonder. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a woman in heels, walking away with her head high, saying nothing. And sometimes that silence burns deeper than any scream ever could. I didn't know who I was without him at first. It was terrifying. For years, my identity had been wrapped in his schedule, his moods, his betrayals. Now, it was just me. No distractions, no one to anticipate, no one to manage, so I started. Small. I bought myself a cheap secondhand desk and set it up near the window. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I worked late into the night on ideas I'd buried while playing wife. Campaigns that were bold, unfiltered, risky. And people noticed. For the first time, clients asked for me. Not the company, not the team. Me. I began running again. Not for weight, not for control, but because I liked the burn. The rhythm of my feet on pavement reminded me I was still here, still moving, still rebuilding. I deleted our anniversary from my calendar. I unfollowed his sister. I stopped checking her socials to see if they were still together. It didn't matter. That chapter was ash, and I wasn't interested in rereading pain. One night, I went out with coworkers. Someone new joined us, an art director from another agency. He was kind, soft-spoken. When I laughed, he looked surprised, like it was a sound he wasn't expecting from someone like me. We talked for hours, not about relationships, not about the past, just about books, movies, small joys. It felt clean. He asked for my number. I said yes, not because I needed someone, but because I didn't. Back at home, I started sleeping with the windows open, letting the night air fill the space where his voice used to echo. I painted the walls, hung art that didn't match. It felt messy. It felt right. My hair grew longer. I stopped straightening it, let it curl wild around my face. I wore clothes he never liked, colors he said didn't suit me. I looked in the mirror and saw someone familiar, not new, but reclaimed. Work flourished. I was invited to speak at a women's leadership panel. I shared my story, the professional parts, and someone in the audience cried. Afterward, she hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for saying what I never could." I smiled, because that's the thing about heartbreak. It cracks you open, but if you survive the fall, you grow in directions you never imagined. And I had survived. It happened by accident, like most things that change you do. A client dinner downtown, fancy place, too many wine glasses on the table. I was running late, rushed through the revolving door, and there he was, sitting at the bar, alone. He didn't see me at first. His hair was longer, beard unkempt. He looked tired, not physically, but in that way people look when life hasn't gone how they imagined. I stood there for a moment, letting the silence stretch, watching him as he swirled a drink he barely touched. Then he looked up. For a second, his eyes didn't register me, and then they did. I expected anger, or maybe arrogance, but what I saw was disbelief, like I was a ghost he thought he'd never face again. His mouth opened, then closed. No words, I walked past him like he was air. He followed me. "Wait," he said, catching up. "Can we talk?" I turned slowly, tilted my head. "Talk about what?" He flinched. "You look different." "I am." My voice was calm, detached, not cruel, just done. "I didn't think you'd—" He paused. I didn't expect to see you." "I'm not hiding," I said. He nodded, eyes scanning my face like he was searching for the version of me that used to beg him to come home. "She wasn't there. She left me," he said suddenly. "The girl—" I didn't react. "She said I was too much, that I wasn't what she thought I'd be." His laugh was dry, bitter. "Guess she finally saw the real me." I didn't say. So did I. He looked desperate now. "You were always better. I see that now." I took a step back. "I don't need you to see anything." He reached out slightly, then stopped himself. "I miss you." I smiled. Soft, distant. "You miss control. You miss comfort. But you don't miss me. You never really had me. You just borrowed pieces of me you thought you could break." I left him there, standing among strangers, surrounded by noise, completely alone. 2 weeks later, I ran into her at a gallery opening. She was with a group of women, laughing too loudly, pretending too hard. She saw me and froze mid-sentence. I didn't stop, just offered a glance. Nothing cruel, nothing smug, just a woman passing by. And that, I think, was the moment she realized I won. There's a specific kind of peace that comes when you stop waiting for an apology, when you stop needing someone to admit what they did. I used to fantasize about it, him on his knees, her sobbing, both begging for forgiveness. But when the moment came, I didn't need any of it, because by then, I had already forgiven myself for staying too long, for loving blindly, for believing his words over my own intuition, for shrinking to fit the version of me he found most manageable, for thinking I needed to compete with another woman to prove my worth. I look back now, and I don't see a victim. I see a woman who survived a storm without raising her voice, who burned the house down with silence, then rebuilt it brick by brick with her own hands, on her own terms. He thought he broke me. She thought she replaced me, but neither of them understood what I was made of. Every scar I carry now feels like a medal, proof that I didn't just live through betrayal. I transcended it. I became someone sharper, softer, wiser, someone they couldn't touch, not even in memory. And sometimes, late at night, when I light a candle and sit in my quiet home, I think of the girl I used to be, the one who doubted herself, the one who cried in the bathroom while dinner burned. I wish I could hold her and say, "You were never the problem. You were just surrounded by people who made you feel like you were. They don't get to have access to me anymore. Not my time, not my heart, not my name. They didn't break me. They built the woman who will never need them again."